Hey guys, Shane here at CrossFit Jeff, helping you go further, faster in fitness. And welcome back to another Shane Talks. I'm freaking fired up. It's been a while since I was able to jump on here and be able to talk to you. I had some stuff go on the last 2 weeks, which kept me from the podcast studio. But I'm back, and I am back with something that I've been talking about with a friend of mine just recently. Now, today's topic is going to be all about living other people's goals or other people's ideas of your goals. Now, what that means is simply this. Along the way, as we develop ourselves through childhood into adolescence and then into adulthood, we pick up a lot of, breadcrumbs from those around us. And what I mean by breadcrumbs is the suggestions of how we should live our lives and what we should do with our lives and how we should look and how we should feel and how we shouldn't feel. And we pick up these breadcrumbs and we consume them, and then that has a toll on us and it takes us to a place that we eventually arrive to. And sometimes we look back and we realize that all of the breadcrumbs that we picked up might not have necessarily been good for us. It's a good breadcrumb analogies. They're the best. So here's what I'm trying to get to, and here's what I've been talking about. It's living other people's lives, living other people's goals. I guess I was doing that for a long time. I was living under the veil that I needed to be a certain way, look a certain way, have a certain life, have a certain relationship and a house, like a home, the way that I did things in my home, a certain career, a bunch of things figured out by a certain age. And these were all goals that I never really decided were for me. I allowed my mum, my dad, my relatives, my friends, people on the internet, people on television, people in music, and the lyrics I was listening to define who I was as a person. Very rarely did I stop and actually ask who Shane Richards is. Who am I? What do I want? Where do I want my life to be? What suburb do I want to live in? What country do I want to live in? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? What do I want to do for part of my life? We're under this false sense that once we decide, we're not able to waver from that decision. And it's been more and more apparent, I guess, when we're in lockdowns and trapped into the place that we are, that we start thinking, hold on, is this the life that I want to live? Do I want to live in this environment? Do I want to live in this country? Do I want to live in this state? I mean, I think Australia's doing a fantastic job. I think that New South Wales has done a pretty good job. Regardless of them locking us down, regardless of them shutting my business down, regardless of all the things that we've done, but it is part of what it is. And it's a responsibility as a citizen to put up with some of this stuff to a degree in what you believe in and go forward. But I've got to remember that I still have control over my life. And it started me thinking of, when did I start to pick up the ideas around me of what I wanted to look like? I was surrounding myself with other personal trainers because I was becoming a personal trainer, and a lot of the personal trainers looked like Adonises. They look like chiseled, fit freaks. Therefore, I adopted that goal. Not a bad goal to have, especially if you can obtain it, especially if you can achieve that goal. It's great to look good and feel good. But it did come at a cost. It does come at a sacrifice for a lot of other things in my life. And I start to think about these things more and more. And I put a lot of time and effort into looking like that. And although, yes, I'm not going to lie, I am vain. There is some vanity in my goal, and I would love to look absolutely chiseled and ripped all year round and be this aspiring mentor motivator for those who are looking at me who want to become more like me because of the way I look. That would be fantastic. That is great, but it's still not really what wakes me up, what drives me in the morning, what gives me purpose. So I have to sit back and go, Shane, is that really your goal? And I've asked that question of myself. My response, yes, it's important to you. No, it's not your number one goal. You feel better when you just simply use your body, when you are simply pain-free, when you are doing movements without the expectation. I have a quality of life improvement when I stop thinking about how I look, when I stop worrying about my body fat percentage, when I stop worrying about what my 1RMs are, what my lifts are, what my times in CrossFit is. When I stop thinking about all those things, my quality of life actually improves. And the funny thing is, I was thinking of all of those other things that were improving my quality of life. If I looked better, I would feel like I had a better quality of life. If I had a faster Fran time, if I had a better bench press, if I, all that stuff I thought was going to improve my quality of life. And you know what? When I sat down and sat with these thoughts and asked these questions, of me as an individual, I couldn't say they improved my quality of life. They're going to improve my life slightly because, there are certain aspects of that stuff that is positive. But at the same time, it wasn't really what I was waking up to, and I had to redefine my goal. So what I did is I made a list. I made a list of the things that were important to me. For me, it was moving for half an hour in some capacity. That's really what makes me feel better. And so therefore, if I can lower my expectation, and I know everyone thinks, why are you lowering your expectation? Well, that's because I don't want to put the weight of the world on my shoulders, and it doesn't feel good when I have that much weight sitting on my shoulders. If my expectations are an hour of cardio, an hour of weights, and I don't do that in a day, then I feel shit, and that's not really how I want to feel. These were goals that were put onto me by other people, and that's not their fault. I adopted those voluntarily. But I never asked myself what I really wanted to achieve. And so for me now, my first goal is to move for half an hour a day. If that means I look a little bit flabbier, if that means I don't look as muscular, if that means I am not as strong, then so be it. And if I can get all those things, muscular, leanness, like good body composition, fitness, if I can get all those things in my half an hour worth of training, and that is my bigger focus, then I'm really winning then. Then my quality of life is improved. The funny thing is about all this stuff is that sometimes we pick up all these goals around us, like what our wife or our husbands expect of us. And sometimes we start adopting their thoughts of how we should be, how we should look, how we should act. And the scary part is once you start to think about that and you realize that some of those things that you've adopted from other people, pushing them onto you, and this is not their fault, this is our fault for adopting that, it's our choice, that sometimes when we start to tear back the layers, we realize we're not living the life that we want to live. We don't have the career that we want to have. We're not in the right industry. We're not in the right areas. We might not have the right partners. We might not have the right dynamics in our family. We might not have the right location to live in and to feel good. There's a lot of things in our life that we probably just accept because that's the way it is. And it's important, I think, to every couple of years definitely, but maybe every year to just take stock. What do I have? Does it make me happy? What do I want? And where do I want to go? And how do I want to see the next 5 to 10 years of my life? Do I want to live in a constant state of trying to be as lean as I can, to try and have as much money as I can, to try and save, to try and pay off my house, to try and pay off my cars, to try and pay off my debt, to try and make everyone around me happy? Or am I really sacrificing my quality of life because I'm trying to make everything else around me suit other people? Now that's a big thought pattern. There's a lot to digest in that, and it can be scary because when you start to tear it all down, you might realize that it's really not what you want to do. It's really not the way you want to live. And the scary part is that you may not even like what you see today, and having to leave all of the things that you call home, that you call life, to create the new can be terrifying. Could you imagine, I guess, waking up and thinking, wow, like the job I'm doing, I don't love. I don't have any passion for that. And then to look next to you and see a partner who you've grown apart from. You don't share any bonds, connections. And that might be, there's a lot wrapped up in that. There's a lot wrapped up in that stuff. And I don't want to digest that stuff now. It's for a whole separate podcast. But you might not be seeing eye to eye. You might have tried to work on things. You might have tried lots of stuff and you realize that the partner you're with is just not where you need to be. You've grown apart. So not only do you feel you're not happy in your job, you're maybe not happy in who you're with. Then you look at where you live. You might think, this is not the suburb that I want to live in. I don't like living in the city. I don't like the cars. I don't like the buildings. I want to live in the bush. I want to live at the beach. I want to live somewhere more free, somewhere in a different setting, different environment. I might want to even live in a different country. Australia's amazing, but you might not want to live here anymore. And you have that luxury, I guess, outside of the times we're living in at the moment. You will have eventually that luxury again to move around. And it's something that we all need to ask these questions. And there's nothing wrong with getting the answers back that you're not comfortable with. It does stir up a lot of dust. It does stir up a lot of dirt, and you do start to have to really sit down and have a think about where you want to go, how you want to be, and how you want to feel in life. But these are all questions that aren't supposed to be avoided. I mean, you can only put a Band-Aid over a sore so many times before you have to peel it all back and dress the wound and clean the wound and fix what's happening underneath that Band-Aid. So for me, this is a reminder, and not that I'm going through this, it's just a conversation that's come up a few times with some of my clients and some of my friends that, where do we want to live? How do we want to live? And how do we want to feel? And this can be related in so many areas: health, fitness, lifestyle. It's not just in fitness, not just in health, not just in lifestyle, but there's a whole combinations of questions we need to ask. And then that will leave us in a position where we're going to walk down a path, a yellow brick road, so to speak, and find our real passions, our real purpose. So this is just a reminder. This Shane Talks is just a reminder to just take some stock. And you might find that when you take this stock take list, that you love everything about your life, but there are still one or two components that you can improve on. Because the quality of the life that you live will always come down to the quality of the questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis. For example, if I ask myself today, if I have a question for myself, and that is, Shane, do you feel that you should be eating well today and not eating badly, not eating processed foods, and I answer that with a yes, that's how I feel, and that's the answer that I'm resonating, and that's the answer that I want, that I'm going to have a better quality of life. If I ask the question, hey, how can you improve your life? Could you go to bed earlier? Could you? And these are just questions, and there's no right or wrong answer really, but there are answers that are going to lead you in different positions, different parts of your life. There's no wrong. I mean, if you are avoiding the real resonating answer, then I guess that's the wrong thing to do. Don't tap into things that aren't true to you. Tap into things that are true to you so the question can be answered correctly. Therefore, there is no wrong. It's not a wrong answer if that's what you wanted. And then start moving in that direction, actioning those plans, pushing forward with things that you need to do. So, for example, I actually started what's the list that I named it as? Let me see here. I actually have something that I did this week, a day plan. And that day plan revolves around improving my goals. What do I want to do today? How do I want to live my life? Not how do I need to live my life for my daughter, not how do I want to live my life for my wife, how do I want to live my life for my clients, how do I want to live my life for my business, how do I want to live my life for the government? None of that stuff I should be answering those questions with. Now, you have to take into consideration sometimes those people's emotions and feelings, yes. But if you don't understand yourself, how can you then even help them? You have to understand you and what you want, and then you can choose to merge and integrate feelings, emotions, and other people's goals into your life, wherever it might intersect. But if you don't know yourself, then you're only ever going to be bitter, angry, and just pissed all of the time and feel like you're not going in the right direction of life. Now, this is just a reminder for you guys. Start to think about where you want to head, how you want to feel while you're heading there, and who you want to take with you. For me, I know I want to take my wife and my daughter, and I want to take my clients, and I want to take my friends with me. That's something that I am solid on, and that is something that I've decided. You know, there are lots of underlying questions about the way the state's running, the way the country's running, and they're all making me think about my individual changes that I can make in my life to make every day feel a bit better. Because I've been focusing way too much on the bigger things I have no control over. I need to bring it back. I need to look in front of me and see where I am and see what I'm doing and make sure I have that down in stone so that I know that when I look at what I want to achieve, where I want to go, I can do that. I can stop living other people's lives. I can stop adopting what they wanted for me, what my mum and dad wanted, what my aunties and uncles and cousins wanted, or what they said was good of me or what was bad of me or whatnot. I can tear down all those perceived ideas of who I should be and how I should live my life and how I should interact in the world. And then that's what led me to the scary questions of, is this really what I want to see? And this is really what I want to do every day, and this is how I want to live? Then these are the questions I've been answering. And I would love to hear from you guys. Is there something in your life you're going to change? Have you just been avoiding the change? Is change bad, and why do we fear it? Why are we so afraid of change when change can lead us to such an amazing place? There is a lot of pain that goes through change. There's a lot of, and I'm sure that a butterfly doesn't walk from a caterpillar into a butterfly and think, oh, that felt great. I'm sure it's the most painful experience of a butterfly's life. It's got to go from this caterpillar into this beautiful, blossoming butterfly. How many B words can you use in a sentence? But at the same time, there was pain and there was discomfort and there was a beauty that came from that. And if we're focusing on what we want and what the end goal is and where we want to be and how we want to feel, I think we can only ever follow our heart. And if we follow our heart, we're always going to be in the best position we can. But if we follow the suppression of emotion, the suppression of how we want to live our lives, if we keep living our lives through other people, because of choices, because of what we listen to in music, because of what we read in the paper, if all that stuff is affecting me, I'm actually morphing further and further away from who I should be. And in my opinion, this is more painful than any change you'll ever go through. Change is painful. I get it. I've been in positions where I've had to change and it was painful, but I can't tell you what, going to bed at night knowing that you aren't heading in the right direction, going to bed at night living with resentment and regret and frustrations and holding on to that forever, is going to shorten your life expectancy anyway, and you're going to feel painful, and you're going to feel pain more days than you would if you were to just go through the change and actually ask the quality questions of yourself to find where you want to be and how you want to live your life, and reach out. Ask people who you trust. Don't ask for them to give you their advice. Don't ask for them to put their or project their goals onto you, but say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is how I've been feeling, and this is what I want to do about it. What does that sound like to you? How do you feel about what I'm saying? And you don't have to respond. Whatever their answer is to you, you don't have to emotionally respond to make them feel better about your choice. These are your walls, your boundaries you're building. You're just asking for them to have a look over it, not to judge it, and just understand it so that you can have some clear communication with some friends and family, people you care about. And that is more important. And I know that can be that's hard because I've just said don't listen and don't adopt other people's goals and things about your life. Yes, I said that. And then I said have a conversation with these people, not to change what you want, but just to get it out into the open, to put it into the universe. If you keep this stuff in and don't let it out, it's never going to become a reality. I can tell my wife something. I can say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want to do about it. And this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to move forward and live. And if she reacts negatively at me, like, no, that's wrong, that's her trying to change me and change my thought and change my movement. And I don't have to emotionally respond to that. Her dealing with that is how she should, that's up to her. She needs to choose how she deals with my information. What I need to do is just let that out there into the universe and say, hey, this is what it is. This is how it's going to be. This is how I'm going to move forward. And if that hurts you, I'm sorry, but this is my life too. This is how I want to feel. And we can have a conversation about that. Therefore, they'll probably input theirs and so on and so on. And I think this is something that we need to do for all of our goals. Fitness, health, lifestyle. If you want to share that stuff with me, that'd be fantastic. If you don't want to share it, you don't have to. But it's something that I think you should do. Keep a little book, a little stock take, and go for it. Until next time, guys, I will see you when I'm looking at you.